On a warm night in March 2014, a routine flight was preparing to depart from Kuala Lumpur. 239 souls were on board, destined for Beijing. Flight MH370 was a scheduled, unremarkable red-eye flight. The passengers were a mix of tourists, business people, and families returning home. Below deck, cargo was loaded exactly as it had been countless times before. By all accounts, there was absolutely nothing unusual about the aircraft or its payload. On a warm night in March 2014, a routine flight was preparing to depart from Kuala Lumpur. With over 18,000 hours of flight time, he was one of the most respected pilots. Beside him was First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, a young but capable pilot. The crew ran through their final pre-flight checklists and requested clearance to taxi. At 41 minutes past midnight, the heavy aircraft took to the skies. The climb out of Kuala Lumpur was perfectly smooth and routine. In the cabin, the lights were dimmed and passengers settled in for the 6-hour journey. The flight attendants prepared for the first cabin service of the night. The flight path took them northeast, heading directly over the Gulf of Thailand. On the ground, Malaysian air traffic control closely monitored their progress. Conditions were perfect. It was a clear night with ideal flying weather. The flight path took them northeast, heading directly over the Gulf of Thailand. 38 minutes into the flight, the plane reached its cruising altitude.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Those were the final words ever spoken from the cockpit. Less than 2 minutes later, the aircraft's transponder was manually switched off. The plane's secondary communication systems were also systematically disabled. Instantly, the plane's identifying signal vanished from civilian radar screens. They contacted nearby aircraft, asking them to relay messages to MH370. Air traffic controllers tried repeatedly to hail the crew. They contacted nearby aircraft, asking them to relay messages to MH370. But the radio remained completely, terrifyingly silent. Unseen in the darkness, the aircraft did not continue to Beijing. Instead, it made a sudden sharp left turn off its planned route. It headed back across the Malay Peninsula, flying in total radio silence. This dramatic change of course was tracked only by primary military radar. Because the transponder was off, they did not recognize it as the missing airliner. The military watched the unidentified track until it crossed the Malacca Strait. Then, it vanished from military screens as well, flying out over the open ocean. As morning broke in Beijing, the plane had not arrived. Families waiting at the terminal grew increasingly worried as the arrival time passed. Initially, the airline reported that the flight was simply delayed. But as hours passed, the horrific truth began to set in. They frantically tried calling their loved ones, but the phones just rang out. A massive international search and rescue operation was immediately launched. Believing the plane had crashed along its route, they focused on the South China Sea. Ships and aircraft from dozens of nations scoured the water for any sign of wreckage. For days, they searched the waters where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. But they found absolutely nothing. No oil slick, no life rafts, no debris. The investigation stalled until engineers at a British satellite company made a discovery. An Inmarsat satellite stationed above the Indian Ocean had continued to record data. It had recorded automated electronic handshakes from the aircraft's engines. These hourly pings continued for 6 full hours after the plane vanished from radar. The data revealed a shocking truth. The plane had not crashed in the South China Sea. It had flown steadily south, deep into the ocean, until it completely ran out of fuel. The search area was immediately shifted thousands of miles away to the southern corridor. It is one of the most remote, hostile, and unexplored environments on the planet. Rescue teams faced the roaring 40s, an area notorious for hurricane-force winds. Searching the surface yielded nothing, so they turned to the abyss. Deep-sea vessels deployed advanced sonar equipment to map the dark ocean floor. They scoured underwater mountains and trenches lying up to 4 miles beneath the surface. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack in total darkness. Months turned into years as the most expensive search in aviation history dragged on. The ocean floor refused to give up its secrets. Finally, in July 2015, over a year later, a breakthrough occurred thousands of miles away. A large piece of debris washed ashore on the French territory of Reunion Island. It was identified as a flaperon, a control surface from the trailing edge of a Boeing 777 wing. Investigators quickly confirmed that it definitively belonged to the missing aircraft. This was the first physical proof that Flight MH370 had ended in the ocean. Over the following years, more than 30 pieces of debris were found. They were scattered across the African coast, carried by the ocean currents. The catastrophic damage indicated the plane struck the water at incredibly high speed. Yet, despite the debris, the main wreckage and the passengers were never found. The families were left without answers, trapped in a relentless state of ambiguous grief. No one knows exactly who was at the controls in those final hours or why the plane turned. The disappearance of MH370 remains the greatest aviation mystery of all time. A modern airliner swallowed completely by the vastness of the sea, leaving behind only questions.